Hello.
Hi, Alex. It's working, all right, is it?
Yes, working now. Yes. So incredibly delighted to be talking to you.
Oh, you too. Thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, yes, your book is just phenomenal. So thank you so much for writing it.
Oh, you're very kind. I'm not sure. It's a bit of a labour of love, but yeah, I mean everyone's been so lovely and so kind about it. So thank you.
Well, it's yes, for anyone who's not aware of what you've written, it's it's the most incredible resource called Why Did No One Tell Me? And hey,
Well,
and
obviously.
and it's just I just love how inclusive and practical it is, and that I'm 900,000 weeks pregnant right now, and I feel
Oh, are you at that
um,
stage where you just need it over now?
well, I've just got quite a lot to do, but I also would really love to have my baby and to stop feeling quite so lumbering.
Oh,
But I think, I kind of thought, oh God, I wish I'd read this at the beginning of my pregnancy. And then I thought, I wish I'd read this at the beginning of my first pregnancy. But I think it doesn't matter. Even if it was 6 months' time, I think I'd still use just the value in it. It was just fantastic.
oh, that's so kind. Thank you.
Yeah, and just, I think so reassuring to be able to chat to such an expert in the space of being practical about being especially looking at running, but like exercise. And because we get so many questions from mums,
Hmm.
saying, I mean, just asking the fundamental, is it safe to exercise during pregnancy? And whilst obviously we are very strong advocates of exercise in pregnancy and working within your own limits, it just doesn't take very much for someone's confidence to get knocked, and then you've got that voice in your head, and then if anything, when the pains come, and or if your pregnancies feel different, it just doesn't take much. So yes, I think if the taking it easy in your condition myth needs to be abolished somehow, and you just I think keep working towards that. But
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think it's a topic that has been shrouded in so much myth for such a long time, and there's such strong beliefs around exercise during pregnancy and after pregnancy. And what we know now is very different to what we thought we knew 20 years ago. But those beliefs from those years back or those decades ago still are really strong, and that's really hard when you're pregnant and you're muddling through everything on Google, which let's say is conflicting to say the least. It's really hard to know what are the good resources and what are the not so reliable resources. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield, I think, for women in general, unfortunately.
yeah, and we work with even people, professional athletes and Olympians who come to us and asking for advice, and whilst we can point to recommended resources. I'm not a physio. I just worked on designing a range of clothes to make sure that people could feel comfortable exercising. But in terms of that knowledge piece, it's so important that resources like yours are there, and your Instagram as well for the go-to.
Yeah,
But
but I think someone like yourself, you're on the front line because you're more likely to tap into women and be that signposter than someone like myself, because unfortunately people still don't know what a pelvic health physiotherapist is, but they do know what good active wear is. And so once they found someone like yourself, if you've got the correct knowledge to then say, well, hang on a minute, we think this, so speak to someone like Emma, and that's just invaluable. And that's why it's really important as healthcare professionals that we're working with people like yourself, because it's not just a message that should be coming from healthcare professionals. It's a message that should be coming from all of us who are really passionate about women's health. So yeah, we're a team.
yes, and amplifying voices makes so much more of an impact, and it's so if we were to give one piece of advice to the new mum? She's totally healthy. She's fairly active. What would be your number one, if you could just give one piece of advice, what would it be to encourage in terms of staying active safely and health and in a way that will make you happy?
Is this lady pregnant? Did you say?
Yes,
New
pregnant. She's new. She's 9 weeks pregnant.
9 weeks pregnant. Wow. First of all, I'd say congratulations. Second of all, I would just say it's so important to listen to your body. If you have been advised by your medical team, your midwife, your GP, that you have a low risk pregnancy and you want to exercise, I would encourage you to do just that. But be aware of the fact that, particularly in your first trimester, you might feel a bit, well, very nauseous. You might be vomiting. You might be incredibly tired, and you know your body is telling you what's right. So if on Sundays you don't feel like being as active as others, that's perfectly fine. But I would encourage you, if you want to be active and if you want to exercise, go for it. It is an absolute no-brainer in my opinion, and there's research, strong research to back it up. So listen to what your body's telling you, because actually I think a lot of pregnant women have the want to exercise, and I think we should embrace that and encourage it wholeheartedly.
Yes, and sometimes that you've also got to think about your happiness, your mental well-being, and your, the physical well-being and strength, and preparing, staying strong for labour is one thing, but also not being miserable for 9 months is important too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's really no reason why a healthy pregnant woman shouldn't be active or exercising. On the flip side of that, if you're someone like myself who loves exercise, I'm a massive runner, but unfortunately I had this real dream of how I was going to be the most active pregnant woman in the world. The whole world was going to know about what an amazing pregnancy I had, and it was the complete opposite. It was a disaster. I had hyperemesis. I couldn't exercise, and it was at a time when actually there wasn't very good information or such solid information out there, and I could do very little. In hindsight, I wish I'd been able to research more and know what were the right and wrong things, because even when you're really poorly, just knowing that yes, you might not be able to exercise, but knowing that just being active, i.e. walking up and down the stairs, is perfectly fine as well. And I think there's that horrible we've got these amazing guidelines, we've got these amazing infographics from the chief medical officer, which are amazing, but there are women out there who just don't feel well enough to exercise, and we have to think about those women as well and say it's okay if you can't exercise, just try and be a little bit active if possible. And I think if you know that there's that not quite so much that pressure on you to hit those 30 minutes every day, that also makes a big difference, because every minute that you're active counts, and it really, really does.
I think that's really, really important and invaluable advice. I mean, the difference between pregnancy number 1, when I was the poster girl for a fit pregnancy, and pregnancy number 2, when I've got a toddler, and just a completely different physical experience. I'm very blessed. I'm having in terms of health wise, I'm fine, but in terms of my comfort, this baby is sitting a lot lower. A pelvic health physio has been invaluable to this one.
Good. I hope someone is helping you, but isn't it fascinating how different one pregnancy can be to another?
I'd be really interested to get pregnant again, just to see, as a contrast, just for curiosity. I mean, I love having babies, but having my kid, I'll see how this one goes before I commit to anything.
Let's get to this one first, and then plan the next one. Give yourself some time.
But it is interesting, because I'm fit and strong, but physically and energy wise, it's been night and day. So, and it's very easy to be like, oh, but I should be doing 30 minutes heart racing activity every single day. And sometimes I just can't.
No, and that's perfectly fine. And actually, as a second time mum with a toddler, you're probably more active than you think. You're just not doing the activity or exercise that you're used to doing. And that's the big thing. It's reframing what is your your pregnancy journey right now. It's a different journey. It's perfectly fine. Your postnatal journey hopefully will be wonderful, and you know, you'll be able to get back to what you love doing. But for now, I think you have to give yourself a break and just accept it for what it is. It's a snapshot in your life in the scheme of things, really. Easy for me to say. But
Yes, and you've obviously, you know, having gone through it yourself and done the recovery, and you run, you're back to being able to run safely.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the smoothest journey after my first baby, because I didn't listen to my body. I listened more to my mind, which was a good thing. I needed the mental, you know, that aspect for my mental health, but it didn't physically help me out well. I returned to running too soon. Second time round, sorry, my phone keeps going all dark and odd. Second time round was a completely different story, because I listened to my body and I gave myself a break, which I didn't do the first time.
So what would be, if you could give 3 tips for recovery, the difference for your second recovery, what would be your top line advice? And obviously come and see you to contact you for more specific information, but for your top line tips.
My top tips would be, first of all, I would encourage you to see a pelvic health physiotherapist. Any time after around about 6 weeks of having had your baby, you are entitled to that appointment through the NHS, or you can seek help privately. Obviously, the NHS, for its wonders, is under-resourced at the moment, but those appointments are available for you. You might just have to wait a little bit. I would wholly encourage you to take your pelvic health seriously and do your pelvic floor exercises. Yes, they're boring. I can't make them that exciting for you, but never underestimate how much that muscle can impact on your well-being, and certainly your pelvic health. But your pelvic floor exercises alone aren't enough. You need to strengthen your whole system. So I guess my third tip would be get strong. Don't underestimate, no matter how much of an active pregnancy you've had, how much your body changes, how much those muscles lengthen and weaken. I mean, all of us will have a lengthened and weakened abdominal wall because our tummy muscles are stretched. So I would definitely encourage you to get strong, embrace the strength and conditioning, embrace the low impact, probably for longer than you might want. And just know that, again, I've said the word before, but it's a snapshot. You will get back to higher impact exercise when your body's ready, but you've got to listen to your body, and you have got to know when high impact isn't quite right. So yeah, my 3 tips: listen to your body, allow yourself to rest and recover, get strong, and see a pelvic health physiotherapist. That's kind of 4 and 3.
They're a good amalgamation there. So people, checking out, trying things like, obviously once you've rebuilt your core, you can look at things like Pilates and yoga, and just not jumping really. I did a lot of like standing arm weight workouts, because the baby was so much heavier than I thought he was going to be.
I know, yeah. You go into your postnatal journey requiring strength, which you will have lost slightly, and I'm a huge advocate of using weight, strength, resistance training, doing these things in exercises in functional positions. I love Pilates, absolutely love it. But if you are purely only doing Pilates, which is all mat work based, pretty much on your back, you're a mum, you're upright most of the time. So you need to strengthen in the positions that you are mothering in. So I would encourage Pilates. I would encourage strength training. I would certainly encourage walking, because I think we undersell the power of walking hugely. And I would definitely encourage things like swimming, spinning when your perineum's ready for it. There's so much you can do that doesn't require impact. And impact, think of it like a mountain. Impact's right at the top of that mountain. And you wouldn't ever return to the top of that mountain if you'd had any other form of surgery or any other big life-changing event. You'd build up to it. So that's the same rule for postnatal recovery. You build up to it, and it will happen, perhaps not for everyone on the set at the same time, but it will happen when your body's ready for it to happen.
And not listening to it is only going to put it back further.
Sadly, take it from me, I didn't listen to my body. I had a little bit of back pain because I returned to running after about 6 weeks after emergency C-section because I hadn't been able to run and I was desperate. I returned, had a little bit of backache. I thought, oh, that'll be fine. A little bit of heaviness in my vagina. Oh, that'll be fine. 6 months later, huge disc prolapse in my back, small prolapse, a vaginal prolapse. And these things are fine. I managed them. I recovered, but with the help of a pelvic health physio. But fundamentally, I probably set myself back a year. So,
and you're doing that recovery whilst parenting and all of the demands on your time when you've got your kids and any work you're doing, and then you've got to, we don't have the luxury of time.
We don't have the luxury of time, and we do have a lot of societal pressure on us to bounce back. Or what a load of rubbish. It just is rubbish. I'd be lying if I said I didn't see the very rare woman who does at 6 weeks just look physically like she's not had a baby and actually has this pretty good strength considering what they've been through. But if you were to compare that to my general caseload, that's probably 2 women a year that I see. That's luck of life and good on them. But the majority of us, that doesn't happen to. And you know what? That's okay. And that is just a part of creating a baby. And what an incredible job your body's done. So I think we need to embrace and commend our bodies for much more than we do.
Appreciate what it's done and not just berate it for not being perfect. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to look 25 again because I'm not 25.
Oh, that'd be nice. I wish I would look like 25 again. No, you're never going to look 25 again. Let's face it, if you're not 25 or younger. And I just think I don't think the media helps with this. I really don't. But I also just don't think we as women help each other with this. I do think we put a lot of pressure on each other. And we just need to sort of put the brakes on and enjoy being a mother for what it is. But I know it's not always that easy. And I do hugely appreciate how important exercise is for your mental health as well. And so you've got to strike that balance of exercising postnatally that gives you that mental kick. But also physically listening to your body as well and letting it recover.
Yes, and actually remembering to enjoy it, not like a way of beating yourself up that it's because you're doing this because you need to look a certain way again. And it should be your time for your self-care, not another thing to feel as a stress on your to-do list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's spot on. It should be something you enjoy 100%. Yeah.
And it's, I think the journey from being pregnant and dealing with the negativity, it's one of the reasons we have our Pregnant Not Powerless campaign to make people feel comfortable about their choice to exercise and, whatever that looks like, be it going for a walk or, we have, mamas who are like, oh, well, I'm only doing 100 miles a week rather than 150. You're like, well, I've never run 100 miles in a week in my life, let alone at 6 months pregnant. But, they still having those comments. Is there any piece of advice you have for anyone experiencing negativity or where would you signpost someone to in terms of if they're getting negativity from family or their partner? And it can be well-meaning, but it's still another stress on an already often stressed mama.
Yeah, I think pregnant women do. Some pregnant women do hit some knockbacks and some negative comments about exercise. I would just say throw the science at them because there is science, really good science out there that suggests that a physically active pregnancy is essential for your health, for baby's health. If you can do it. And the chief medical officer is there with his infographic saying we need to get you, pregnant lady and postnatal lady, exercising and active. And I think there will always be naysayers when it comes to pregnancy and postnatal recovery. There will always so everyone's got an opinion when you're going through this period of your life, and I just think it's so wrong. It's nothing to do with anyone else. If you're fit, you're healthy, you've been told by your midwife or GP that you're perfectly safe to exercise, then crack on and do it, because actually the benefits to you and baby are just so huge. And we need to really be encouraging women and celebrating women for when they exercise during their pregnancy, because a woman or mother that exercises tends to have a more active family unit, and it's a public health issue that we are not active enough. And I'm afraid we just have all got to get more physically active, and this is a great time in your life to embrace it and make it part of your routine. So stuff the naysayers, shove the science in their hands.
Active mamas make active families. Yes, I maybe we need to include the printout in the bounty packs, because there is, you get your pack and you get your vitamins and your marketing material, but there's nothing in that welcome to being pregnant pack that says, hey, why don't you exercise?
I know.
Or feel, just be active or enjoy it or carry on. So I think there's definitely an opportunity to,
it's so,
because then you could just pass out a leaflet.
Yeah, and I think as well, there are great, incredible charities out there now that are banging this drum. There's the Active Pregnancy Foundation. So if in doubt, you can head over to that charity and look at their infographics and their resources that they have. There's exercise and pregnancy, I think it is, on Instagram, and they're researchers who are getting that research to you to tell you it's okay to exercise. So I would definitely encourage that you look at those particular accounts, because I think when you're surrounding yourself with a tribe of people that are telling you this message, it's so much easier. Then you're not on your own and you can feel confident in what you're doing.
You do need that community, especially at the moment when we don't have any community.
Oh, I know. Won't it be lovely when we've all got a bit more of each other? Because I think I certainly have seen it in clinic. It's been the hardest year for everyone, but particularly if you're pregnant or if you've just had a baby, what we need more than anything is a little community around us. We just haven't had it. And I think it's really hit new mums incredibly hard. And
it's such a lonely time anyway.
It really is. And thank goodness for social media, because actually, it has its negatives, but social media has proven to be a really strong community for the perinatal population. And I think, you have to reach out if you're struggling, because there are lots of charities, there's lots of help out there. But, coming onto Instagram and social media certainly has been of help to a lot of people, women that I've seen, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that whilst it's always easy to focus on the negative, there's an awful lot more women there just, looking to cheer on other mums or offer those words of encouragement. We certainly see it within our Fit to Mama community. The reach out that people have had, and, friendships formed, or having someone to talk to, an expert to say, which is why we like to work with people like yourself, just so we can say, if you've got specific concerns and worries, here's someone who's going to be able to help you. So I think it can be such a fantastic tool. But just ignore there's always going to be some people who have got not much else to do except for come onto social media and be grumpy.
Oh yeah. Of course, that's human nature, right?
Yeah, you don't have to like everyone.
Yeah, you don't.
It's absolutely fantastic to talk to you. What I will do is, when we post this up, I will pop the links to both your page and your book, and the charities you mentioned. The Active Pregnancy Foundation is a phenomenal set of resources, and such the most enthusiastic, happy people involved. So if you need a little buzz of positivity, then for sure it's a good place to spend some time, and then you find your tribe and get answers to your questions, or even just make some friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say this as well, if that's okay. I think one of the things that we touched on before in email is for those women who are suffering from pelvic girdle pain during their pregnancy, and that sorry, pelvic girdle pain and exercise. I would just say try and explore the options of keeping active as active as possible. There's a really good physio who is on Instagram called Dr. Sinead Defour. and she's doing some awesome, or has done some awesome research, but also has a really good page about all things pelvic health physio. But she's, you know, specifically, I really like what she's doing on pelvic girdle pain. So if you have pelvic girdle pain, head over to her page, because that's really helpful as well. But I would say, if you're in pain during pregnancy, try and remain as active as you can. Find an exercise that you can do to keep active if possible. But
It does help.
it does help. Yeah, it does. But reach out.
It can help with the pain as well. I you know, having suffered that in the later stage of this pregnancy, the urge to not move is so overwhelming. But if you are suffering, move first thing in the morning before it kicks in too badly, and then see where, it does the difference. Even if I just do 15-20 minutes of yoga, I feel a little bit more in control of my body, but also the pain's not as bad later in the day.
Yeah,
but
that's interesting. Movements
but yeah,
flow with breath are really good for pelvic girdle pain. And make sure you're having some pelvic health physio as well, because the sooner that you get it treated, the better, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously I would always recommend wearing supportive leggings, but it does,
totally.
every little helps.
Absolutely agree with that.
But it makes just try and lift the weight of that baby off a little bit. But I will include her in the resources, and we will put together. This is a big a pop-up page up in our next magazine with all of the different resources and the best ways to look after your pelvic health, and the different communities you can get advice from, because not feeling like you just have to suffer, because the idea that, oh, it's just a pregnancy discomfort, you just sign up for this when you become a mum, it's not helpful, and it's not fair, because we're not here just to be a vessel for a baby.
Perfectly put. Yeah, totally agree with that. Can't add to that, really.
Well, thank you so much for your time joining us, and that's just so much incredibly useful information, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.